Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. I'm your host for the evening, the One-Ton Hammer, and with me is Terry DeMonda. Say hello. And Jen T. Maxey is with us. Um, I'm having a few little technical glitches here. Hang on a second. Okay. I think that fixed it. I could hear myself twice in the audio, so having two songs playing loudly at the same time and then having you guys echo. We're gonna cut it. Um, how you doing, Terry? I cannot complain. Um, um, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, and I think they're gonna baptize me with "You are now completely healed." So I'm hoping that that turns out okay. Um, Jen, how you doing? Great name. Jen's a happy girl. Mm, really? Uh, I can hear you just fine. No audio from. I wonder why that would be. Um, audio. It says voice meter. It says my microphone is through voice meter. It should be fine. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Say something. And see, what you call it? OBS is saying that you guys are talking. Yeah, I'm looking at the actual show, and I'm seeing Jen's chat bubble light up. Yeah, it was, and it stopped. Yeah, so if it's taking the visuals, it should take the audio too. They're not any different. Huh. Uh, I don't know. All right, so the video is going through, but the audio is not going through. Could it be an OBS issue? Let's go to settings, audio. All right, say something. Anybody seeing anything? Hearing anything? Mr. Adam, I bet Terry is saying something witty and funny. Are you guys hearing them now? I'm waiting for chat to just get back to us. I want no audio, but no audio but me. Seamus says no audio but me. The only thing I could think of is that I did do an update on my driver for my NVIDIA card, and whenever you install NVIDIA drivers, it installs the audio drivers as well. And maybe OBS got confused with that. So let's, because he's the last line, so everything goes through OBS. So he is the master of all audio. So let me keep working on it. I can't really do anything about restarting the stream, but I should be able to fix this. Audio. Yeah, I'm seeing that in the chat.
Dude, because that would totally get us tagged, and I'm sorry.
I think that might have fixed it.
Oh dear.
If you've ever wanted to see the,
I wanted to wait. I want to wait till she said something really bad and then put that through. That's what I wanted to do.
Well, it wasn't bad. Just definitely one of those jingles that might have been caught by some kind of algorithm, whether I was doing it well or not.
They're saying it's still silent, but I can't imagine.
No. I think that was from before you announced that you'd fixed it, though.
Okay. Well, let's see if it. According to OBS, they ain't nothing wrong.
There you
There you
go. Yay.
I
I can stop that one.
I will blame NVIDIA for screwing things up, and I will take pride in my ability to know OBS and fix problems on the fly. So they are bad, and I am great. It works out perfectly for me.
Yes, excellent.
Well, we should probably go over the show notes now that everybody can hear everything. Tonight on the Wednesday show, a former cop asserts that all cops are liars. One cop insisting on a cab. That's interesting. I'm going to go ahead and, or unless you guys can do it for me, can you put the link to the video in the chat for me?
Yeah, I should be able to do that. Give me a second.
Being the excellent and talented co-host that you are.
Well, upon first thinking about that statement, my first thought is, well, all cops are human, so is it possible for them to lie? Yes. Do they? Not necessarily, no.
Yeah.
But this guy, on the other hand, is probably projecting.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to make sure that people got this link so that they can play it themselves and see it themselves. He's pretty spot on with these police officers. He catches them dead-handed. That's why I pulled this out over all the stuff that I always watch. This one was like, holy crap. I even left a comment in the video for the channel. That's how much of an impression it made on me. And I watch bad cops all the time. So also on the show tonight, Wheeler versus Abbott. Sounds like a comedy routine.
Well, I know Wheeler is the fire guy from Captain Planet. So.
Yes, that's who we're talking about. And Abbott is part of Abbott and Costello. That's the other Abbott.
Right.
Oh dear, now you got that jingle in my head.
The latest.
If I sing it like there, it sounds like Nancy Pelosi, you know.
Good morning. Good Sunday morning.
But a Skeletor.
Step aside, Delta. Moo is here. Time for.
Damn it, Mr. Moo.
It's the Phi Delta Mu, right off the campuses. It's time for more booster shots, everybody. Stand by. And also, Jen has brought to the table what's going on with Canadian politics. And
so that was a little nice surprise. I went to go share the stream because I always do, and sure enough, the first thing I see, I know you can't share screens, but the first thing I see is that Maxime's party, PPC, has absolutely 100% kicked out the Greens. They've kicked out the Quebec, and it looks like they've taken a nice little chunk out of NDP. And to be fair, it looks like the CPC is still in the lead, so they're probably going to win anyway, which overall, that was kind of a given. I suspect by next week, most of the Liberals are going to go to the NDP, because if they're not staying with him, they're going to go to NDP. And what they don't take is going to go to PPC. I suspect he's going to take a chunk out of Jang. If he's not exactly on par with him, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not a little bit above.
Well, and for people in chat who have no idea who you're talking about, can you run down the 5 parties, who's in charge, and what they think?
So Trudeau's party is the Liberal Party. They are red.
And their initials are?
The L. It's a big L.
Just a big old L. Okay.
Big old L. Conservatives are the Conservative Party of Canada, is CCP. Sorry. and their leader is not. His name is Aaron O'Toole. I'm not as big a fan of him because, as far as I'm concerned, he's what I would call a red Tory, or he's effectively what an old liberal was. So fair enough, I at least suspect he can handle working with Biden, which is probably what we need on the American front, because leaving it to Mexico is kind of terrifying. And the next person in charge is NDP, so that's the New Democratic Party. That leader is Jagmeet Singh. He's Sikh. Just so people don't get confused with Muslim, just because they get offended very easily, or at least he does. The Sikh community, not so much. Him, on the other hand, very, very easily offended. That guy is like walking on eggshells. So I'm not a big fan of him. Then there's the Quebecois, and I don't know his name. I really should, because I don't mean any disrespect to the guy, because, I mean, he's not for me. He's for Quebec. He's actually a pretty good politician. He's just not for me. And then there's the Green Party, and yeah, I don't know their leader at all, so I'm sorry, I can't tell you her name. She seems, yeah, but she's me. And then there's the People's Party, and that's Bernier, and he goes by the purple flag. And he's the one I'm banking on, just because he's pretty much the only one talking sense. But I know he's not going to necessarily win the big poobah. He's not going to be king of the castle. Yeah, I am too, Jagger. I'm so sick of the bullshit. And he's the only one talking middle ground with everybody. Like, he's not saying don't take the vaccine. Like, I had to tell my mom that, because she believes mainstream more often than not. And I'm like, listen, he's never once said don't take the vax. He's saying don't force vaccine passports on people, and don't force medical segregation on Canadians, please. Like, that's the last thing we need. We've got a lot more problems right now in the world than just this. So, that's basically what they're trying to tank him on, and it's not going to work, because I think people are afraid of what they're seeing in Australia. They're afraid of what they're seeing in America. They're hearing what's happening in America, and they're like, oh, so this is going to be a Ponzi scheme. We don't want to vote for that right now. And last month, our prime minister left like 1,200 of our troops and citizens in Afghanistan, and he acts like our biggest concern is really just the masks. Like, his rack sheet list is so long that it's embarrassing. So yeah, he's not gonna win.
I wanted to say quickly in chat, Seamus says, I'm voting world-ending natural event, sweet meteor of death. Besides the Axl Rose imagery I get in my mind when you start talking about sweet meteors of death, there's a channel called Run Don't Walk Productions, who I believe he has merch that has a picture of an asteroid on it, and underneath it says Asteroid 2024.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty funny.
I've seen that for the 2020 election too.
Yeah.
They were saying giant meteor of death, save us from these terrible choices.
So you're voting PPC. The only person I really know besides Trudeau is Maxime. And the reason I know him is because, like you said, he talks a lot of sense. What he's saying makes a lot of sense. Yep. And the fact that he was arrested while traveling between provinces kind of made news. And then when I watch Viva Fry, he's another YouTuber, lawyer turned YouTuber, I believe is his phrase.
He's also the only politician to show any concern for the fact that we had so many of our churches get burned down over the summer. I'm not sure exactly the number. I'm estimating on this one because I read this one somewhere. It could be something different. If you Google it, it's 22. I read 44 somewhere, but I would range it between 22 to 44 churches were burnt. If they weren't burnt down, then they were damaged by fire. And they were doing this because of the Polish guy. And he's from my province. And to be quite frank, he didn't do anything wrong. Because according to the government, they haven't done anything to the Muslim community to shut them down. And fair enough. I don't want them to. But at the same time, they went after every single church. And yeah, they had problems all year because of it. And they haven't done a thing to mitigate that either. So they've done so many things that I don't think they understand what they've burnt bridges with. And like I said, they're probably at best the Liberals are going to lose most of their party seats to NDP, because NDP, like, a lot of them are fussy about the vaccines. A lot of them are control freaks. A lot of them like to know exactly about what you're going to be doing when you come out without your mask, that kind of shit. But
Someone
that
needs
stuff
to
is
explain all this stuff to me anyway, because I put this up on Twitter because
Mhm.
if you're not following me on Twitter, you all should be following me on Twitter. Damn it.
I do recommend people follow Viva Fry, because he does cover quite a lot of what I talk about. It's just he covers everything. Like, he covers more the legal terms and the
He's a
political
lawyer.
stuff. Well, he's running, so
Oh yeah,
that's space.
he's
And he
involved
is
in
a
the
lawyer.
PPC. Yeah, he's running.
But
But I don't
he's
understand this
all
whole thing with the masks and the vaccines. I put it out on Twitter earlier today, touching on this just quickly, is that I don't understand why everybody is so, all the governments and most of the people are so freaked out about people who are unvaccinated. I just don't get it. If you're vaccinated, you're safe. It shouldn't matter what we're doing.
it's almost like they keep talking from this place where they think they understand science, but it's like everybody who's talking, we've all had vaccines. I've had vaccines, you've had vaccines, everybody's had vaccines. We know how they work. Once you get them, they either last for a certain amount of time, and maybe you get a booster. Like when I got them for hepatitis, I think it was, I'm not sure which one it was for, but it was for hepatitis. And that one, you are recommended to get a booster if say you haven't had one in, say, like 15 to 20 years and you're going to a foreign country. They recommend you get a booster. It's a little bit different when it comes to the flu, because the flu is going to evolve anyway. The COVID, that they're like, oh, it's going to evolve. I'm like, well, it's already done that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let's actually change and talk about
Mhm.
the COOF, because that's one of the subjects for tonight. I put it in the show notes. Step aside, Delta. Mu is here. Time for more boosters. There is a new variant called the Mu variant, which is already in the United States. And right now, the main original virus is still here, and it's still being addressed by the vaccine. Delta is here, and the vaccine really doesn't do anything but keep you from dying from it. It doesn't stop you from getting infected like the virus, the vaccine does for the original. And Delta is slowly taking over the old virus is going away, and Delta is taking over. But now Mu is here, and Mu apparently can get past the vaccine even better than Delta. But they don't have any stats just yet on how deadly it is. See, that's the big deal here with Delta is more virulent than the original virus, but it is significantly less deadly as well. So you'll get it, but it won't kill you by comparison, as I understand it. This is what I'm understanding. I'm not saying that this is true. I'm just saying this is what I've heard at this point. But Mu is
Yeah, it's kind of like the
supposedly,
difference between cowpox and chickenpox.
I guess, Mu apparently is even more virulent, that it completely doesn't care whether you're vaccinated or not. But there apparently isn't any data on deaths from it yet. But I saw a map of the United States, and about half the United States has seen some kind of version of Mu somewhere.
Yeah, it's
I'm just
probably
not scared of getting sick. So I
no.
mean, like, I'm going to be complete Untermensch in Australia when they pull the plug and say, okay, everyone not vaccinated is a second class citizen. But
Yeah, it's a problem.
But I think you should be allowed to make your own decisions regarding your own health. And like, I don't care if I get sick. I really don't. If I get
hated
sick,
having
I'll feel like shit for a couple of weeks, then I'll get over it.
yeah, I hated having to use a religious quote with my mom, and I don't even know if it was like an accurate quote, but just basically the theme of like, listen, the belief that God is either going to protect me in this life, or when I die, he's going to meet me at the pearly gates and protect me there. You know, like this idea that the government is going to conform everybody in the world to this line of thinking that they're trying to push on everybody. I'm sorry. I'm not even a religious person, and I still kind of live like that. You know, it's not that I think God is going to protect me in this life. I think that I'm going to live fine. You know,
Mhm.
I think everybody has moments where, like, you know, even if you do get sick in this world, we all just kind of live with it. And we deal with it. And we do what we can with it. You know, everyone's doing what they can. I just don't want to buy into a Ponzi scheme, because it doesn't look like there's always going to be another thing. Like, this is a new flu. There's always going to be another flu. Like every year. And I feel like all this focus on this one thing is really just a distraction. Really. It's really a
Risk,
controlling distraction.
it's like they want to take the risk out of life.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
exactly what they're trying to do.
you can't do that. Life is risky. It just simply is. And it reminds me of
Yep.
Star Trek whenever we get on the subject of risk, because it's probably one of the best scenes in Star Trek. They're trying to determine what to do next, and they have Spock and Bones and Scotty sitting at a table, and they're wish-washing about which way they go and how, you know, this could kill everybody on the ship and blah, 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 blah. And Kirk stops and he says, "What are we doing?" He says, "It's our job to take risks. That's why we're out here." And they decide to go ahead and take the risk. And, you know, you walk out of your house, you can get hit by a car walking out of your house. You know, you can trip and fall down the steps, kill yourself. Risk is inherent to life. And how much risk is I'm willing to take is my decision.
Exactly.
Well, it's just it's really unrealistic when they have to know that no human on Earth doesn't know that every existence that came before us had to take risks for us to exist. Like all the way back to the beginning of humanity, when we were like maybe like chimps, but not really chimps. I'm sorry, I just like calling it like that. Even those guys had to take risks for us to get to this point, and everything in between was a risk. Every invention between then and there was a risk, and it's still a risk. The people who are still making those inventions still taking risks.
Yeah.
You
Take
know,
risks every day.
everybody takes risks every day. Babies take a risk by being born. It's a risk. I'm sorry, being born is a risk.
Not a conscious risk, but yeah.
It's a, you know,
I don't think
and
they really have
that
much say in the matter, but
no.
no,
And
I don't want to be born. That's it.
No, you know, like across the board, like there is no species in the world that doesn't have to take a risk. Like
Sure.
baby birds have to jump out of a nest to take a risk,
Yeah.
and it's a death risk. If they don't make it, they die.
But actually, I saw a thread on Twitter where this guy was saying it was cruel to allow mothers to give birth because they were increasing the amount of suffering that baby would have to endure by allowing it to be born.
I mean, I don't want to take it that far because it's that like I know that's exaggerated, but like in life,
No, he was serious.
yeah, I know he was.
Full on.
Yeah, I know he was. And I don't want what I'm saying to take it that seriously. But you know, at the same time, like maybe it's because I watched so many videos with baby birds in it, and I didn't realize how fucked up life was. But even to that extent, you know, like we're better off because our ancestors took risks. They took a lot of risks. So now you know, infant mortality not as big a problem. Well, unless we cause the problem.
Yeah.
You know, unless we cause the problem, not a lot of, you know, infant mortality risks. Not nearly as many. You know.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, it was one in 5 women would die from giving birth. It wasn't just like the baby; it was the whole procedure.
Right.
You know, it's life has always been a risk. But when you take risks, you know what? Sometimes you make it through, and what you end up with is amazing stuff. Like now we have things like planes,
Mhm.
and we can go to outer space, and we can go to the depths of the ocean, like you know, and find parts of our history that we didn't know was there because it was under the fucking ocean.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
just found some huge shark in the Marianas Trench. It's like 40 feet long and 3.5 tons or something like that.
like it's always amazing what we find in this world. You know, there's so many amazing things about it, and you know, if we were always scared of it all the time, we would never get anywhere. You know, we would end up as ants, and there's nothing wrong with being an ant either. But an ant still has to travel from its nest to start a new nest.
Well, there's literally nothing anyone can do that does not carry any risk at all.
Yeah.
There is no such activity
Yeah.
in existence that is completely risk-free.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do now with Moo on the horizon here? Are we going to be forced into more booster shots? Or are we going to get a new vaccine? What do you think is going to happen?
I think
You're
it
going to feed all
really,
the dogs so you don't get COVID.
yeah. I
Learn
think
from the best.
I think people should do what we've always been kind of doing since we started getting flu shots. And I think you should take advice from your doctor, like we've always kind of done. You know, like if there's a season of COVID, if that's what we're into now because we have something out there that's a new cold, then what we should be doing is taking our doctor's advice. Now, if your doctor says, you know what, you're a healthy, normal young person, you probably don't need this. If you do get it, you'll probably be fine. Fine. But if you're somebody who's at risk and you should probably take some stuff, or you work with people who are at risk and maybe you should take it for your profession because it's, you know, you probably should if it's for your profession,
Mhm.
you know, that's how they should handle it. But it should not be used as a medical segregation, should not be used as a passport, should not be used as a political movement.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be used as a distraction because that is exactly what it is. Like there are things going on right now that are more important. Like you guys actually have elections going on. Those are kind of important. You know, we have elections going on. Those are kind of important. Afghanistan's on, well, it's not really on fire, but like it's kind of a mess right now, and you've got a lot of crazy people with a shit ton of weaponry. You've got China, you've got Russia, you've got, you know, there's a lot of places that are kind of fucked up right now. So like fixing your shit at home would be kind of more important than worrying about somebody else's cold.
Yeah, we have more important things to worry about. I think that Moo isn't going to last nearly as long as Delta did.
Good.
That's my prediction with absolutely no medical evidence at all to back it up. It's just a feeling that I have. Like I said, it seems more virulent, but it seems to not kill people as much so far, at least as far as I can tell. So if everybody gets it and it goes through and it's done, and it burns itself out, and we don't really lose anybody because of it, then that'll be that. But I'm always worried about, well, what's after this, and then what's after that, and I have all the same concerns about vaccine passports because I see it being done in Canada wholesale, and I see the atrocities, literally atrocities that are happening in Australia over this, and now I'm seeing California and New York instituting vaccine passports here, and I'm scared that SCOTUS is not going to walk in and stop it. See, that's my whole thing about the United States, is I'm holding very tightly onto the Constitution and SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS for short, to save us from all of this. Because if they start doing things that are unconstitutional, SCOTUS can step in and use the Constitution to stop it. Nowhere else do I know of, except for the Philippines, who actually adopted our Constitution. They actually took our Constitution and said, we're going to use this. Nowhere else has this. The UK doesn't have it. Canada doesn't have it. Australia doesn't have it. We're the only people who have it. So I'm hoping that that's going to save us. Otherwise, we're in the same amount of trouble as everyone else is.
Yeah. That's why they're coming to get you, Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm hoping and I'm hoping my confidence isn't, you know, me counting eggs too soon, that Trudeau will be out because, like I said, if the only sane person on the northern shore is Mexico, I am a little bit concerned.
Well,
Good luck, sir.
if Trudeau is out, does that solve your problem?
It doesn't, but it makes it easier. The problem is probably elevated by half instead of full throttle. We have
I'm
more
just going
time.
to be honest. Getting rid of Trudeau is its own reward.
Yeah.
You don't need anything better than he's gone. Even if it fixes nothing, he's gone.
Well, that is a fix in and of itself. But the bigger thing is, our vaccine passport's going to roll through Canada anyway.
They have already. I
Right.
think I
But can the next guy come in and say, no, not doing that?
Yes.
Will he?
No.
He will put pressure, but he doesn't necessarily have the right to just do that because he's still federal. He's not provincial, but he could put pressure on them to do so.
Is this being done by the provinces? This is not being done by Trudeau?
This is being done by the provinces, but they are quite often under pressure by Trudeau to do. And I know from my understanding, O'Toole has kind of like kissed up to Trudeau and like kind of caved to him for that stuff. Not for everything. Like there's some people who like Eeyore said that he doesn't hate everything that he's done. But he's caved to a lot of what Trudeau has wanted to do. So it's really up to the provincial leaders. But like I said, it is pressure from the feds, and they did get us vaccines and things like that. He's also pushing it for federal. Like he wants to make Trudeau wants to make the passports federal law. So he wants to be able to put pressure on the provinces to do it because Alberta hasn't. At best, we've put our masks back on, which sucks. That still pisses me off.
See, I'm in a tricky situation because if my premier, like I've got stuck with her for another 2 years, but if she gets voted out, the other part, like she's the conservative option. If she goes and we get someone from the other party, that's going to be like way far left. Like it's the conservative that is locking everything in New South Wales down. So, like my other option is probably going to be way worse. So yeah, I don't think I'm getting out of here anytime soon.
Well, that's another thing that's scary about what's going on in Australia. You're not being allowed to leave the country.
Nope.
That's really, really scary stuff, man.
Yeah.
That is like communist kind of totalitarianism. You're not allowed to leave.
Yes.
We're going to force this on you, and you have to stay here and take it. Yikes.
For your own protection, of course.
Yeah, Costin might have more to say about Doug Ford than I do, just because like I don't know him as well as people from Ontario would, just because I don't read their news all the time. Mm-hmm. Like I can kind of consider Ontario to be kind of this imagination land. Yes, that's how I picture Ontario. It's like Imagination Land, the one from South Park. Invasion and all. Yeah, I don't know. Whenever I think of Ontario, I meet people that are normal, and then the next 3 people I meet are just like, wow.
Well, maybe if the SCOTUS strikes down all this vaccine passport stuff, perhaps we can convince whoever's in charge of this United States by then to invade Canada and solve all your problems for you.
Oh boy, Costin, that is so funny. Trudeau offered $1 billion for provinces to develop these. I'm like, does he know how much money Alberta gives to you guys?
$1 billion.
Like we give Quebec like almost $12 billion, and he's like, "Oh, we'll offer you $1 billion if you put in this passport." Okay.
That $1 billion that's not much money, and when it comes to budgets like this, the United States just passed what, 1.3 trillion.
And like like I said, I'm just like he really doesn't understand money and economics, and this is why I know he doesn't need to be where he is. I was hoping that his minions would help give him better information so he could read it off of like a clip card. I
Careful with
was
that
okay
word.
with that. I wanted him to be the little monkey that just like presented everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're in a position now where we have to decide what we're all going to do. I mean, as Canadians and Americans and Australians, about what we're going to do. It's very much a turning point. I'm very. I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty scared. I'm pretty scared with what's going on right now. It's the first time in my
Yeah.
life that I've been scared about what's been happening to the world. You know, you want to bomb Syria? Bomb Syria. What the fuck do I care about Syria? But when I see stuff like this happening to Western countries, boy, my anxiety level is.
It makes you feel like you're on the verge of the end of Rome or the
Yeah.
verge of the
Yeah.
end of Egypt or something. And it's just like, well, what did we do wrong? Like, you know, where did we really go wrong over the last 6 years where like it just flips so much?
We gave women the right to vote.
Yeah,
No, but
that was a while ago.
I think what we did, what everyone
I'm
did wrong,
kidding.
they didn't listen. They didn't listen to that guy. His name I can't remember. The KGB defector that told us, like in plain English, this is what the communists do. Like, yeah, it's going to be fine. We'll just ignore that guy.
I know that I've been doing my part, like I said, just simply trying to convince my mom little things like, yeah, I think Trudeau's dad is not Pierre. I know that seems like me just trolling, but it's not. It's me trying to get my mom to actually open her mind and start thinking outside of what the media has been telling her. Because while she doesn't like what she's seeing, she's so confused. And that's what a lot of people are in up here is they're just so confused because they see stuff happening and they're just like, I think it looks like this, but if I call it out, people are gonna think there's something wrong with me or something. And you know, people have quiet conversations behind doors, but for the last like year and a half, oh well, you weren't even allowed to be behind doors with each other, so you couldn't even really do that. And then they start talking about things like, oh well, you know, we're gonna moderate what you can watch online, or moderate what you can post online, and it has to be all about Quebec, even though like we've never really done that. It's like Quebec does their thing, we do our thing, like shade to them. And it's just like I said, there's been stuff going on that have been red flags for me for the get-go. Like when they didn't do anything about the train tippers, I was like, okay, so you're okay with something that is the equivalent of a bomb being tipped over. Okay, there's something wrong there. The stuff with the Polish church guy, I was like, yeah, he's a little bit loopy, but I mean, he's not unreasonable if you talk to him and work something out. It's just, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and switch gears before I start crying here.
Yeah.
Wheeler versus Abbott. Abbott versus Wheeler. I'm sure everybody's aware that Greg Abbott, the mayor of Portland, has decided that Texas is not allowed to exist because he doesn't like what they're doing. So he's going to.
You guys our money.
We're going to ban Texas. Like Texas gives a shit.
Well, I saw Ted Cruz put a
totally.
tweet out saying that Antifa doesn't want a vacation in Texas anymore, and a little crying face.
Yeah, it was awesome. He does. I'm really surprised about Ted Cruz has really gotten to the point. He's gotten very red pilled for a guy who's conservative already. He's gotten into fighting words now. He's really used to be quite the diplomat. Has now come out with some real zingers. And I'm feeling much better about him than I used to. I probably wouldn't vote for him, depending on who's running in 2024. But I will be voting for the first time in 2022 when we have our regionals for like our mayors and senators and all that kind of stuff. It's the first time in my life I will be voting. The tough part is the person who's in charge right now is a Democrat, and she's a Democrat in name only. Yes, it's a she. I will dox myself that far. She is a Republican who's on the Democrat side. So I will probably vote for her, even though she's a Democrat, because even though she's a D next to her name, she doesn't act like a D. She's definitely an R. But I I don't understand where Greg's coming off trying to ban Texas. It really doesn't make any sense to me because he doesn't speak for Oregon. He only speaks for Portland. So why would Texas, which you can fit what 13 of Oregon's into Texas, why would they care about Portland? I mean, this is just virtue signaling.
Yes, it is.
At most. I mean, there's the financial impact to Texas is like, yeah, so we don't care. So why is this getting such? It's just virtue signaling. That's all it is.
Well, what about all the celebrities who are like, I'm not going to make movies in Texas anymore?
Good.
All right.
They said the same thing about Georgia when Georgia changed its voting laws. They said we're not going to do anything in Georgia. I wonder if that's still true. I wonder if there's, and let me ask you this: I don't hear Georgia crying about it.
No, the thing is, they need the money more than the states do. Like if they're like, I'll never go to Texas again. All right, then you can't be in this movie. You know, I've reconsidered.
On the other hand, I do see your point. The funny thing is, Wheeler is a mayor, and I think really if you go against Greg Abbott, his popularity in Texas overall, he has a lot more power to hurt Oregon in general than Wheeler has to even dent Texas in any way. And I said, you know, when on Twitter, of course, that if this is Abbott's chance to turn around and say, well, even though you've decided that you're going to talk about it with your council, I'm going to be proactive and say nobody from Oregon is allowed in Texas anymore. Any vehicle caught with Oregon plates in our state will be escorted by the state police out of our state. End of story. Anybody coming in on an airplane with Oregon, you're not allowed in here anymore. You're out. If you want to play games, there's a very well-known phrase from anybody who lives in the United States, especially from Texans. And Greg, or Jen, I can hear you in the background. You know what I'm going to say. Don't mess with Texas.
Nope. Don't mess with Texas.
And I have a feeling that Abbott, if he wants to, he'll get full support for anything he does.
I thought you were going to say intercourse and discover, to put it in YouTube friendly terms.
Yeah, but I mean, it
was kind of a running gag for us with the East for the longest time that because they play politics with us a lot, that we would just turn off the pipes because that would turn off their gas.
Yeah.
The only problem though is that we sell most of our gas to you guys and then you sell it back to them, so it's just like shit.
I've been to Texas. I spent 2 weeks in Austin, which is like spending 2 weeks in California. And there's a lot of people who are minions who are in Texas. So I kind of agree with Abbott and what he's thinking. I just think that he has an opportunity here. He won't take it. I mean, in all honesty, if I was him, I wouldn't take it either. But he wields such positive power there at this time that he can get away with doing anything. And if Wheeler wants to go after him, he's making a big mistake. Literally, you shouldn't mess with Texas. You really shouldn't. So I'm interested to see what will happen because Wheeler said, well, wait a minute. Let me talk to my council first because I can't make a decision on my own, especially a bad one. So we don't know if he's actually going to try anything. But if he does, I don't think he can make much of a bigger mistake than to go against Abbott because he's kind of very loved right now.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm just clarifying stuff with the assassin because
I'm watching.
I'm not talking shit about Mr. Polish guy because I like him well enough. It's just he does do little. I call certain religious people quirky because they do quirky things. That's not shade. That's just saying, like, everybody has their own character flaws or things that they do that like other people will find annoying, but it's tolerable annoyance. You know, it's stuff that I can laugh about a little bit. or like tease him about, or like if I was friends with him, I would roast him on it in a friendly way,
Right.
not to be mean or to be disrespectful or be like, hey, I don't get that, it's stuff that you like about people that you find annoying. Where does it
You're
sound?
describing my entire my entire relationship with Polydub.
Right?
No, I just had a revelation. Because of the lockdowns in Australia, we literally do have to fight for our right to party.
You do. Well,
The
yeah,
Beastie Boys were onto something.
yeah. I've been,
Prophets.
like
Yeah.
the last couple of years, I think they don't realize what they've done to my province. Like we are both workaholics, and we are both people who party really hard. So you work real hard and then you party real hard. So when you're stuck inside for a year and a half, and you're not making money, you're not able to party, and you're really, really bored, that leads to just disaster. That will lead you to disaster, because the people up here are like, we're not dumb. Ontario knows that. The people who know me from Ontario know that. If I'm the brown crayon in the box in Alberta, that should tell you something about what the really bright colors are like. I'm just saying.
Okay. We only got about 15 minutes. I don't want to get
Do too
far
much of that, yeah.
on
You had
Wheeler
other
Abbott.
stuff, right?
I got one thing left. We talked about the PPC. We talked about the Delta variant. We talked about Wheeler and Abbott. The last thing I have on the docket is that video that I shared with both of you before the stream, and I mentioned at the beginning of the stream.
Yeah.
As I mentioned to you guys before the show started, from time to time, I will post in Twitter videos that I find on the net from various sources on YouTube, showing that, and I've done it once or twice for good interactions, but mostly bad interactions between police and the public. I follow several channels, one that examines what has happened between police, and other ones that are just auditors who go out and just post what they've done. And I ran across one today. I certainly find plenty that are incendiary. I found one today that really just wowed me enough that I actually left a comment on the channel in their comment section about the video. From time to time, whenever you see videos where cops run into to citizens who understand the law, you'll often hear, and it's kind of a joke, you see it in the movies, where the citizens will say, well, I know my rights. And you get these pissant cops who should never have been cops, who will respond almost universally, what are you, a lawyer? I hear it all the time. As soon as you say you know your rights, where did you get your law degree? In that same sarcastic tone, that's tone of superiority, like, so you think you're smart, huh? And that's how you can immediately, as soon as you hear that attitude, you know you're dealing with a bad cop. And the general perspective across the United States, I don't know if this holds true for Canada and Australia as well. You're going to have to bring me up to speed, but the general consensus here is that there's always a bad apple. That by far and large, all cops are good cops, but there's always a bad apple. And I used to believe that. I don't believe it anymore. And it's not because I've just indulged myself in all of the bad things that they've done. It's simply that there's a lot more bad being done than I realized. So where I post on Twitter, I'll say, I don't believe in ACAB, but, and I'll post a link to a video that I've seen that shows cops in a bad light. And like I said, from time to time, I've done videos that show cops in a good light. But this one specifically, you guys got a chance. Can you throw that back in the links again, just in case anybody wants to? Do you still have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got there. It is. Thank you, Terry. This is a situation where a cop did run into somebody who knew what they were talking about, that actually had background experience. This guy used to be a cop, and now is a private investigator. So not only was he a cop, not only does he know the law, as he has to as an investigator. But he knows cops as well because he used to be one. And during his interrogation with the cops, he told them, he says, "I used to be a cop. Every one of you is a liar." And I was floored when I heard that. I was like, there it is. There's someone actually telling the truth. And I've always known from iterations prior to that, that police are allowed to lie in the performance of their duty. To get you to confess. Cops will often lie. We have the guy who worked with you, he's already confessed, so you should too. The other guy didn't confess, but that's what he'll tell you to get you to confess. And then they will use it against the other guy. So they're allowed to lie. But the way he said it was, every one of you lies all the time, every day, on your job, the entire day. He made it very clear about his point of view on this. Basically, the reason for the stop, you can watch the video yourself, but just to bring you up on generally what the stop is about. This guy's a private eye. He's been hired to watch this woman. This woman realizes, bad PI, this woman realizes that the cop is following, or the PI is following her. So she calls the cop and says, "This guy's stalking me." The cops show up and pull him over. The cop comes to the door and says, "You're stalking somebody. Give me your ID." And the investigator, being smart, asks him point blank, "Are you pulling me over for a traffic violation?" And the cop says, "No." Well, once he says no, he cannot ask for your ID anymore. The only time you can be stopped and asked for your ID is if you break a traffic law or a regular law. So he said right there that he was not stopping him because he broke a traffic law. He was not going to be cited for anything. He wanted his ID because of the stalking. And that is called hearsay. And you're not required in the United States, in most states, almost all states, you are not required to identify unless you are about to commit a crime, are committing a crime, or have committed a crime. Hearing a person say, "That guy is stalking me," does not mean that you have committed a crime.
No.
That's hearsay. That's what she said. Yet this cop believes what she said and is willing to break the law and violate this man's Fourth Amendment right to on her word. And
just
he
for the
pointed,
non-Americans, what is the Fourth Amendment?
the Fourth Amendment is the right to privacy, to be secure in your property. So that means not handing over anything from your person, no searching, no seizures. So the only thing that a cop can do is if he detains you, he can do, and you're going to love this phrase, he can do what's called a Terry stop, where he can ask you, he can always ask you to get out of the car and you have to comply. Get you out of the car and he can pat you down, but he is not allowed to go in your pockets and he's not allowed to take anything from you. But he can pat you down on the outside to see if you have a weapon.
Oh, okay.
That's the only thing he can do. And if you don't tell him that you have a weapon, and then he does a Terry frisk on you and finds the weapon, he can remove the weapon from you. But only the weapon. That still doesn't give him the option of identifying you. He cannot go in your pockets. He cannot search you just because you have a weapon, because you're allowed to have a weapon.
Yeah.
So that's not...
in America, you are.
In most states, you're allowed to have a weapon. So it varies from state to state. But I'm just speaking in general. That's the way the rules work. So he argued with them after a period of time. And the funny thing is, the officer who pulled him over leaves, and other officers show up. And they continue trying to...
I didn't understand that part.
Yeah, I didn't understand it either. Why he left. Maybe there was some other thing that he had to get to that only he could take care of. Maybe he was a senior officer. I don't know. They never really go into it. The point is, other cops come, and there's 3 of them, and they're all yelling at him inside his window. "Give us your ID. And you must do this, and you have to listen to this, and she said this, and we're going to do this, and we have to protect." And really what I think this all came down to is that these are all men, and the complainant is a woman. So their personal feelings got in the way of them doing their job. Their personal feelings is, "I'm a man. I am here to protect women. I will protect this woman. And I am willing to break the law to protect this woman." And when he pointed out, "You're breaking the law to do this," then that changed things.
Yeah, well, it's kind of just basic biology. Men have an ingrained desire to protect women because evolutionary pressure has said protect the women or you don't have a species anymore.
It is straight out of Shapiro's own mouth. Men were put on the earth to protect women.
Yeah, basically.
It's that simple. I believe that. I believe that.
Yeah, that's kind of why I have this sneaking suspicion that more women need to put the beat down on more women. No
Well,
offense to you guys.
in all honesty, if something was happening, I'm not sure I would get involved. If I drove to the local gasoline station and there was a fight and a man and woman were exchanging blows, I wouldn't get involved.
No.
No, hell no.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to win, but if she's whacking at him, equal rights and equal lefts. Go ahead and beat the shit out of each other. And if it gets to the point where he's going to kill her, I might throw a body block and knock him off her. And then I'm going to run away because I don't want to get sued.
I mean, even though we just got done trashing them, I'd call the cops. I was like, it's not my problem. I don't want to get involved because, one, there's not going to be any gratitude from either party if I do. And two, it's just going to get me killed.
I'd still run away. I'd knock them off and I'd run away because the cops are going to come after me. If I go in there and I body block them, well, you made contact. Yeah. That's assault. We're arresting you. So I mean, it's like, I was saving your life. I don't care. You still assaulted that man. You're going to jail, buddy. It's like, I'll knock him off and then I'm running my ass off. I'm not calling anybody. I'm getting in my car and I'm driving the fuck away. I have nothing to do with nothing. I didn't see nothing, didn't know anything.
Assassin in chat says, too bad so few women feel any gratitude for that biological fact. It's like, yeah, that's a big problem.
I have been yelled at for opening doors for women.
Yeah.
Yes, it has happened to me several times. Well, actually twice. Not more than twice. It's happened to me twice. Once at my grocery store and once at the local gas station. I opened the door for women and the lesser of the two was, I can do that.
Yeah, I've never been
sure
yelled
you
at,
can.
but I have had that reaction.
Yeah, that was the lesser. The other one, I got an earful. Who do you think you are? Yeah. I got that one.
No, that hasn't happened to me.
Yeah.
But I have held the door open for someone who happened to be a woman, because I'll hold the door open for anyone.
Sure.
And it happened to be a woman, and she just sort of gave me a dirty look and says, I can do it myself, and then kept walking. Like,
yikes.
You're welcome.
Yikes. Jen, help us out here. Tell us it's okay if we open the door for you.
I would accept that. I mean, I open the door for other people too. I've had dudes slam the door in my face because, like, A, they didn't turn around to look, and B, they did turn around to look, and I think they were terrified of it. And I was like, don't do that.
Yeah, I don't hold the door open for women anymore. I don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I still will, just because I was raised with my manners, but I understand it with guys.
I'll open the door for a guy, but not for a girl. Mm-hmm. Which is just the opposite of what it should be. But I'm not, because I don't want to get an earful. I won't get an earful from a guy. I can guarantee you. No guy is going to say to me, how dare you open a door for me? They're going to be like, dude, thanks, man. They're going to be very appreciative. And most women will be as well. But I'm not at the point to take the chance anymore. I don't want to hear the earful.
You can always kind of tell which women will take it just because they kind of run up to the door.
If they've got blue hair, don't open the door for them.
Like if they're running towards the door and they see you holding it, you're fine.
So we're living in, I hate to say this, but we're living in clown world here. We're backwards.
Yeah, because these people are in La La Land. Like it's even like watching the TikTok reviews sometimes. Like just the kids coming out now are just as loopy, or I hope it's just like a small fraction of the population. I pray.
I don't know.
I really pray. Because
I kept doing it after the first one. I just figured she was a fluke. But after the second one, and it was within a couple of months, and it was a different person, I was like, that's the end of that.
Because they would rather live in La La Land. And I'm like, you can't live on this planet and live in La La Land. That's how I mean, to be honest, maybe we should go back to the way we were, where, if kids killed themselves through their own stupidity, you were like, you know what, that's a shame. I'm sorry for the parents, but, tough love, because that's my first thought, is like these people are so loopy that they're going to lead to their own doom. And I refuse to spend any more energy on them.
Cynic's making me laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they can, but that requires 5. Sorry.
I don't
I'm
want
not
to. There's a reason why Jen is here, because Jen knows how to talk. She's available. She's a good person to have on the show, but she does bring the female perspective with her. So when we get into conversations like this, I am very glad that you are here, Jen.
And I also stopped myself from telling really horrible jokes, because I was going to make a $5 joke, and I was like, no, Jen, no, Jen.
I want to be fair, and Jen, just having Jen here keeps me being fair, because if you weren't here, the things I'm afraid that I would say.
I think you'd be surprised at how many women are feeling a little bit brutal right now. For many reasons. So like I've never been necessarily a feminist. I've always just been, because personality really kind of matters more than your gender. It really does. If I wanted to do something, I just went and did it. If I didn't want to do something, I just didn't do it. So if naturally I was inclined to do it, that was a thing. Maybe it was just out of my reach. I don't know. But I really left a lot of the whole gendered reasoning to the side, because a lot of growing up was like, yeah, a lot of it has to do with your personality. Can some girls work on trucks and cars? Yeah, they can. They can do really well. Some of them have. Um, it was more about the fact that we were already being given the chances to try things. And a lot of women just didn't want to. Some women did, and I was grateful they had the opportunity, but a lot of women didn't want to. And then all of a sudden, feminists were like, oh, everything is about rape, where men are horrible, blah, blah, blah. And then it went so far south. Now I've always encountered, I've had many encounters with guys who've had burns with women who really took the system and made it seem disgusting. You know, like the women who would take children, or women in divorces who would take men to court, and there goes all their savings and that kind of stuff. And I realized that, yeah, these men are not going to bounce back from that.
Mm-mm.
And, you know, that's just a small fraction for one person to meet in their lifetime.
And that spreads like a disease almost, because he's going to tell every guy he meets what happened to him. And it's going to be in the back of their mind. So when they meet a girl, that's going to be sitting back there. It's not going to be just him. It's going to spread.
And out of sympathy to him, you know, I felt terrible for him, because, yeah, the stories I'd heard, they were terrible. I wouldn't want to have someone do that to me. And I knew women who were the equivalent of, you know, but for some reason, when you tell them the story of the men who are the equivalent of, it's just like, oh, I don't care anymore. And I realized the problem is there are too many people who are speaking from the position of compassion who do not understand what compassion is. It is not comparing one side to the other. It's acknowledging that there's someone in front of you who is asking you for help, or they're telling you something about themselves. Of course, the world has millions of other problems other than the person in front of you, but they're not in front of you right now. The person who's in front of you is. So the first thing you should do is help the person in front of you. That is actually compassion.
There was a TikTok video I saw a couple weeks ago. Girl was 19, 20, 21. And she was being interviewed, and she says, I just broke up with him. I didn't want to deal with him anymore. And he says, the person interviewing says, well, how did he respond when you broke up with him? He says, I don't care. Men don't have feelings.
Yeah.
No.
She's 20.
Yeah. It's unbelievably cynical. And I'm grateful for the fact that I've had really good male relationships in my life, and maybe that's the difference. Is maybe these girls are just barefit of men, and maybe that has a lot to do with the school system, because that's something I'll acknowledge, is there aren't a lot of male teachers. I had my fair share of male teachers. I understand the fear of male teachers, but like honestly, they don't give a shit of the fear of female teachers. So like honestly, why would I give a fear of the male teachers at this point?
I haven't seen. Go ahead, Terry.
to become a male teacher, you have to deal with the stigma that
Mhm.
people have of any man who wants to be around children. They will see you as a pedophile.
And I
Like
think
they just will.
I think that's absolutely terrible because I never grew up with that impression. I always grew up with the impression that the men who were teachers were just gentle guys who were good at teaching.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in 2021, an adult man who wants to hang around little kids is going to draw suspicion. It's not right.
Mhm.
I mean, I think men should have the ability to work as teachers unimpeded, but they're going to get looks. They're going to get rumors about them. They're going to be treated very, very badly.
I'm going to say my honest opinion to the Canadian School Board. I preferred the male teachers over the female teachers. The female teachers picked favorites more often than the male teachers did. The male teachers across the board, they did have their favorites, but they were a little bit more fair about it. And it wasn't as common. I didn't see it as often. With the females, it was all the time. Every time. And it was noticeable, and yeah, I liked the males better because I could talk to them better. It just, I don't know. Some people, male or female, actually do respond better to the opposite sex when it comes to learning. It's just a trust thing. I trusted men more than I trusted females because I think I've mentioned this before. I remember things in my past a little bit better than I did that, you know, don't reflect good on females, because my first daycare was run by females. And I was like 6 months old, and they were putting tacks and pennies in that pen.
It's no, I remember like one of the one teacher that really hated my guts when I was at school was a female teacher. And so yeah, I guess the sort of lends weight to your theory that they're more likely to play favorites. Because she really resented me because she was saying you can't get by on natural talent, you have to put in the work, and I was proving her wrong by doing well in every test and like quite clearly not paying attention in class. And like that was not good on my part, just in terms of it taught me bad study habits, and I failed when I got to university and I actually needed to put in effort. I was I hadn't trained myself to do that, and so I failed and dropped out.
She didn't really teach you how to learn about loving to learn.
But she was mad at me because she was saying you cannot rely on natural talent. You must put in the work. And I was quite clearly contradicting her just by existing.
Out of spite.
And succeeding at it.
I wasn't doing anything malicious. I was just passing tests.
Ignoring her? I'm going to do what I want.
Well, she gave the test and I got the questions right. It's not like I was like, I'm going to put 1 + 1 = 2, so she feels stupid. No, well, that's the question. You want the answer? I'll put the answer. And so I used to do really well in the exams, and that pissed her off because people could see that I was like, not really paying attention, because like I got it on the first lesson, so I didn't need the next 5. So I was just, well, I already know this stuff. I don't need to listen. And that pissed her off. And so, yeah, she was very, very, like, stuff that she would let slide on anyone else, she would dock me marks for. Like, you know, not showing you're working properly. Like, anyone else would be like, oh, no, you got the right answer. You showed some working. I can see where you were going. With me, it's like, no, that's wrong. It's like, okay.
I never had any problems in school at all that I can ever remember. I can only really remember middle school and high school. I can't remember grade school. It's just too far back in my memory of that stuff. But I grew up early. I was a early bloomer. So by the time I was in middle school, I was already close, if not at 6 foot. And I was up to 6'3" when I entered high school. And I was in the football team. You know, I was young, stuck, you know, well built in the gym all the time, that kind of stuff. So I was a tall and well built person back then. So I never had any problems with any of the male or female teachers. I didn't try to intimidate anybody, but I was a big guy. So I never had any problems with any of the teachers. But I am kind of in the same position you were, where they would explain something and I got it. And then they would explain it 5 different ways, and people would ask questions who didn't get it, and I had to sit there. So what I did is I started to learn how to code, because I was a computer nerd. You know, a great mix. I was in the ROTC, I was on the football team, and I was a computer nerd. That's who I was. So I was friendly with everybody. It covers all the cliques out there, you know. So when they would do that, I would just pull out my notebook and pretend like I was writing something in the class, but I was coding for my computer class.
That's smart.
So it kept me from acting up, you know, and I was learning something because I was coding, and I would take that code and put it all into the computer when I got to the class and see if I was able to write code that would not fail right off the bat, that kind of stuff. So it kept me engaged, but I was lucky in that sense is that I had this thing with computers that is with me to this day. And that's the only reason I wasn't the person who was acting out. I mean, there are certainly periods where I had not gotten into computers quite yet, where I was a bit of a criminal when I was a kid, but if it wasn't for computers, I'd be totally screwed. We're a little bit past the hour. You guys have anything that you want to talk about that we haven't covered?
Well,
we should start asking chat if there's anything we should talk about. Let them get involved in the show a little more.
One thing that happened on Twitter was I saw someone saying that men don't get enough compliments and that you should compliment men more. And every time I see this, I give the same response. Compliments make me suspicious. If someone just out of the blue says something nice about me, it's like, what do you want? Come on. You just stop bullshitting. Tell me what you want. Maybe I'll help you. Maybe I won't. But trying to butter me up isn't going to get you anywhere.
Okay, well, let me tell you, Terry, that if
cynical.
I tell you something like I think you're funny, it means I want you to tell me a joke because I think you're funny.
No, but see, if someone says I think you're funny, I will accept that compliment if I've said something that I consider funny quite recently, and then I'll say, okay, you thought my last joke was funny, cool. And like it's the same if someone says I'm intelligent, that typically means that I just solved a problem for them, and that's just their way of thanking me. But like apropos nothing, someone compliments me, it's like, okay, what do you want?
I think it matters what the circumstances of the compliment are. When I meet somebody new and it's just, hi, how you doing? My name is Hammer, blah, 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 blah. And you talk to them, I don't really care about what they look like, but what makes me determine if it's somebody that I can compliment is their intelligence and their vocabulary. For me, really, it's the vocabulary. If they start using words that are not kind of common, but not so ridiculous that the average person is not going to get it, because I think that's one of the things I'm proud of about myself. I don't have much, but I do have what I consider to be a good vocabulary. When I hear somebody talk, and when they elucidate, today's word of the day is elucidate. Use it in a sentence. That means something to me. That means that they have not only that they're intelligent, but they took the time and made the effort to learn what that word was and use it properly without being too crazy. I don't want to hear some 50-syllable thing that has this minute little meaning that you've steered the conversation in just so you can use that word. You're a dick.
That's pretentious.
That's pretentious. You're a dick. But if you can use a word that makes sense, that people can understand in every language, it just isn't very commonly used. I think I used earlier when I was talking to you guys, I used tomfoolery. Not a $200 word. You know, that's not a college word. But how often do you hear that word used? But you all know what it means, don't you? Right? Yeah. So, I mean, you hear like Weibo. This is what impresses me about Weibo. She's a person who uses the word shenanigans a lot. You know, it's kind of part of her little thing, you know. I like that. I like when people use words that it is cute, but even like tomfoolery, not particularly cute, but it follows the same pattern. Everybody knows what it means. It's a word that you don't hear very often, and it perfectly fits. That means something to me. I know. Maybe I'm weird.
No, I mean, you like what you like. It's fine.
Adam's calling me a lingophobe.
Yeah, but I was saying to the person on Twitter that accidental compliments tend to work better with me, like because clearly they weren't they didn't have like ulterior motives because they didn't even intend to compliment me. And then that actually works. Like I'll accept those because it was sort of like unintentional or even not even unintentional, just not necessarily intended that way. And I saw something nice in what they said. So when Johnny was doing his torture stream, we were watching the comedian, and she said that she used to date a guy named Terry, and everyone was laughing and going, "Oh my God, is it you?" Because this was like an Australian. And then the next thing she says is, and everyone could tell right away that he was a complete prick. And everyone goes, "Oh, so it's not you then." Like that actually is like, oh, that's actually nice that is my public image, is that people don't think that of me. Like they weren't saying it to be nice to me. It was just like they were reacting to the comedy. And it's like, that's good that, people see me that way.
Yeah, it's a bit different when it comes to compliments. I have thought about that for a while because I have tried to compliment more people just in general over the last year, but at the same time I wanted it to not be awkward or insincere or to make people feel uncomfortable because Terry, you're not the only person like that. Hammer's not the only person like that. And also, what is really a compliment? It's supposed to be something that's sincere, right?
Yeah.
So it was just more of like, well, let's see if I can get to know people better over time. And then if I find out something about them and learn about something about them, let's make the compliment something sincere. Like, say I find out that you were working on a project, like, I know you're doing another channel as well. I haven't been to watch you guys. I keep meaning to, but say you were working on something and it was something you were really proud of, and I got a chance to see it, and I was like, wow, that looked really great. I'm going to compliment you on that, and I'm going to be really sincere, and I'm going to watch it so that I have the details to back it up. That's how I feel a compliment should be. But on the streets, I would say I give more compliments to women in general, just because women have self-esteem issues.
Men don't.
Men do. But the female self-esteem issues have gone so far that I feel like they took it to the politics, and that's not all of the problems, but it's some of the problems. At least when it comes to things like TV and shit like that, because I'm tired of every character having to be arranged for the woke crowd. Like, well, maybe maybe if I give the odd woman, a more sincere compliment, because that's easy enough for me to do, because I see women sometimes and I'm like, yeah, you look really nice. There's something about you that I like. Maybe it was your hair, or maybe you dress nicely or something. So I do that more often. With men, that's a little bit more awkward, because with a guy, there's a good chance he's going to think I'm hitting on him when I'm not. True. And that's something I don't want to confuse a guy with, because, I'm not meaning that.
That'll do it. If you're a woman, I don't know who identifies as a woman. I don't think there's anybody who identifies as a woman in chat at the moment. But if you're a woman and you want a boyfriend, find a sincere way to compliment him, and you'll have a boyfriend.
That makes it a lot more difficult. It's always easier when I know the person's a nerd. It really is, to be quite frank. And I'm saying this is an open person who likes information about people, because when I know you're a nerd, then compliments become a lot easier, because then I can kind of get, oh, well, he did this. That's something he's proud of. Okay, well, let's compliment them on that. That one's actually a little bit easier, because it doesn't have to be personal. It is not necessarily girlfriend material, because, like, I could just be a weeb talking to another weeb, You could be talking about Star Wars, Star Trek. As a weeb, I still understand that you're talking to me in a different terminology. You're another weeb. That makes it easier. But if you're somebody who's not into that kind of stuff, that makes it a little bit more difficult. And that, yet again, that would mean I'd have to get to know you. That makes street compliments a lot harder, because I don't necessarily want to get to know you. I just want to say something nice to cheer you up. I don't know. Maybe clothing is the best way to go. Hey, you're nice shoes. I don't know.
If I don't know you, I don't want a compliment from you. It's meaningless. It's like, if
tell you what, I'll open the door for you, gentlemen.
No, but if a random stranger says, hey, nice shirt. Like, thanks. And
When
what do you
men
want me to do with that?
have self-esteem issues, I try to listen to them. That's what I try to do.
Is that a little bit
Yeah,
more
that's
cultural? Do you find that's typical in Australia? Because I know in the UK, even starting a conversation is kind of frowned on. Where in America, everyone's all friendly. Hi, how you doing?
I don't know. I just know for me, I'm far closer to the English model where it's like, yeah, I don't want random strangers talking to me.
Yeah.
I want to, if I'm going to interact with someone, I want it to be a friend, or someone that a friend has introduced me to, so they've been vetted. I don't want to just
Well, what if
talk
it's
to
what if it's a courtesy question? Like it's just somebody who's not from around and they're just asking your opinion on something or just directions. Like
I mean, if they're asking directions and I can help them, I'll help them. But I don't want them to compliment me afterwards. I just want them to say,
no.
"Oh, thank you."
Yeah. I mean, I would thank you for it. I mean, unless you were doing something like, unless it was like an outing and you were like the stuff that you would never do. I'm describing something that is not Terry. Like say you went crazy, someone got you drunk, and you're out for Aussie version of Ireland. You're going green for the day. I don't know. Maybe then I would compliment you, but no. If I'm just asking you for directions, I would thank you for it.
I don't have any problems whatsoever
thank you
with
for being kind. Thank you for being kind, because that's a compliment in a thank you.
I don't have any problems at all with somebody starting a conversation with me and complimenting me. I'm perfectly fine with me. It doesn't irk me or make me suspicious or that kind of stuff. And generally what I do is I just find something quickly to return the compliment in. If she says to me, I like your shirt, and I says, thank you. And I'll look at her and I'll say, you got a beautiful smile. And then I'll walk away or whatever. But I won't assume that there's an attraction there. That may be to my detriment. But you can maybe it's because of my age and the fact that, I've had a chance to meet a fair amount of women, that you can usually tell by posture and her eyes. And there's a lot of cues a woman will give you to tell you that she's interested. Simply getting a compliment is not enough for me.
No.
If I turn to her and she says something like "Turn shirt," and I turn her and look at her, and she's smiling and she's making eye contact, that will make me pause, and then I'll see how her body is turned. If her body is turned away from me, like she's pumping gas or something like that, that's one thing. But if she's facing me, that's a different story. And if she's leaning in towards me, see, there's a lot of things that a person will do if they're attracted to you. They give you a lot of signals, especially women. They're much better at it than guys are.
And honestly, if you were wearing just a cool shirt, you're gonna know, because I'm gonna be looking at your shirt.
Yeah.
Like,
so usually if somebody gives you a compliment, they're smiling. So it's very easy to come back and say you have a pretty smile. So some girl says, hey, that's pretty. And you turn and look at her and she's smiling. Well, you got an easy compliment right there. And that's kind of my go-to, is if that ever happens, which it almost never does. But if it does, I know exactly what to go for. But yeah, maybe it's just having enough interactions that you kind of get how women work a little bit, and how they kind of tell you what they're thinking or feeling without actually telling you what they're thinking, because they expect you to be mind readers. And in a way you can be, because their body will tell you what their mind is thinking. So you can, to some extent, you can be a mind reader with a woman, not because you can read their minds, but you can read their body language, which is an expression of what their mind is. So, I don't think I've run into women more than 5 times where I can look at them and say, oh, that she's interested. And of those, almost all of them have turned out to be girlfriends. So, like, I think I mentioned last time I was on Monkey in the Morning, I've never really gone to a girl and said, hi, my name is Hammer. You're very pretty. Would you like to get a cup of coffee? I've never done that ever in my life. I have no problems doing it. If you guys haven't told, or Chad hasn't told, confidence is not a problem with me. I have more than enough. But I've never actually done that. I've always just been kind to see if she will. And that's how I make my
audience.
That's how I make my decision about a woman is if she is willing to take that step, then she's the kind of person I want to date. So it's kind of backwards. It's kind of stupid. Most guys aren't like that. Most guys want to be a guy, you know, and their masculinity rises up and says, I'm the guy. I will make the first move. That's my job. I'm not like that. That's kind of a weird thing about me, but.
Yeah, it makes it really hard. Like, I mean, I can't even think of like scenarios because I never did this kind of stuff in high school. Like, you know, watched a guy play a sport and then think, you know, it would have been nice to have gone up to a guy and been like, hey, I know you worked really hard at this, good job at doing well at this game or something. But at the same time, though, like in school, that's not going to happen because that's you going, hey, I really want to be your girlfriend, even if you don't want to be your girlfriend. And that's sad because, you know, it is sad. Like it'd be nice to be able to give a guy a compliment and just have it be a compliment and have it still be sincere.
You would be safe with me.
You know?
But not most men. The reason I laughed was not because of what you were saying. The reason I laughed is because I read what Cynic wrote in chat.
Yeah.
Hey, you have all your teeth. Yeah, that's probably not going to be a good compliment.
Yeah, it's just one of those realities of life. But I mean, you know, if you make friends with men, it is a little bit different, you know, because when you become friends with people, well, there you go. You've spent time with them, so therefore you know a little bit more about them. You probably know what their likes and dislikes are, that kind of shit. You're more likely to know, you know, like if I knew you guys in person or something, I would know differences in how your hair was for the most part. I am actually pretty good at noticing that kind of stuff.
I don't have any hair.
Well, there you go.
I'm not completely bald.
Suddenly,
I'm 60, you know?
You know, if you suddenly decided to wear a wig one day, I'll notice, you know? Like,
yeah.
You know, it's just, you know, I'm okay with that kind of stuff. I am not very noticeable about like outfit stuff because I was the kid who went to work all the time. So outfits were uniforms.
Yeah.
If you weren't wearing an outfit, then you were off work. And then I was just jealous. Fuck you. Get back to work.
Assassin made a good point. He says a 17-year-old boy will never know any of those cues. And you're absolutely right. And that's why meeting girls when you're young is so awkward because you don't know how to read those cues. But if you have a little experience with women, they're almost shouting at you. I mean, if you're talking to a woman and she does all the things I said, watch where she puts her hands. She puts her hand on a hip. That's a sexual cue. If she twirls her hair, that's a sexual, or flips her hair, that's a sexual cue. They're interested. If they laugh at any joke you make, even if it's a stupid joke, and I have a tendency to do that, I intentionally make stupid jokes to see if they'll laugh. If they laugh, they're into you. There's just, I mean, these are just obvious.
I make stupid jokes because they make me laugh. If they happen to make someone else laugh, that's even better.
Yeah.
I'm just an evil, bitter person, so I laugh at most of Terry's jokes because they're usually a little bit bitter.
Do you agree with what I'm saying, Jen? I mean, I can call on you and say, you're a woman. Do you agree with what I'm saying about how it's possible?
Not everything, but some things, yes. The laughing thing, no, because that's a some girls kind of thing. You do kind of have to know the personality of the girl just a little bit with that one, because
some girls are just easy to laugh.
Yeah, because sometimes I've overheard a conversation where a guy said something funny, and it was funny, so I laughed.
Didn't mean you were into him. Yeah.
Doesn't mean I was into him, but you know, if he'd come up and kept going and had initially tried to keep me laughing, that would have gotten my attention because that would have shown like, hey, all of a sudden, well, she laughed at my jokes. Maybe if I keep going,
I'm getting her attention. Yeah.
Now he's getting my attention. The initial joke isn't enough. You have to keep going with it. And actually you have to show that you're willing to spend attention on me because, like guys can assume that men are like how you guys can assume that women are into you. I can't do that either because that's a humility thing that women can't come back from. Mentally speaking, it's I can't speak for all women, but I can say that it's not about being turned down. That part's okay. That part's actually easier because then you can move on. It's more of just oh, you know, I just humiliated myself because now this guy feels awkward, or you know, maybe he and his friends are going to laugh at me because, you know, awkward girl syndrome is probably just as bad as awkward boy syndrome. It's just they don't own up to it. Yeah, women get devastated when it's not reciprocated or at least turned down nicely. And as much as a lot of guys think that they're good at it, not all guys are good at it, and not all women are really good at approaching, and that's a problem too.
Yeah.
Never approach a guy when he's with his group of friends. Ever.
Adam made a great point in
Mhm.
chat. I think we mentioned this last Wednesday, that the Wednesday show always seems to end with dating advice.
I know, right?
You notice that? It was last week and the week before, and now it's this week.
But
Well,
when Jen was saying about noticing like haircuts and stuff, it reminded me of something that happened to my dad when he was working, where this guy came up to him and he's like, "I can't believe I got a haircut yesterday. Not one person has noticed it today." And my dad just said, "You didn't notice mine." Because he had also had a haircut the previous day. Like, you didn't notice mine. He was like, "Oh,
good
shit."
point. Well, another thing is, men, unless they go from like shoulder length to a buzz cut,
Yeah.
most guys have fairly short hair, and when they get it cut, it's more of a trim than anything else. Women, when they change their hair, it's like slaps you in the face. Holy shit, you look completely different.
Yeah. For us up here, it's probably just a style thing, but there was a little bit of a while there where the guys kind of had Harry Potter style scruffy, and then it would just go from that to like half buzz cut shit going on. So like that kind of stuff is noticeable, or at least when you go from like Harry Potter or Shaggy to like I've cleaned up, that is actually noticeable.
Yeah.
But it's more of to do with the beards, because up here beards are a thing. Men up here do
It's a
seasonal
requirement.
beards. It is a requirement, and it's a seasonal beard. And that I try to give compliments on too, because some men do take pride in their beards.
All men should have beards. All the time.
And I respect that takes work. So but yeah,
doesn't take that much work for a beard, to be honest with you. Someone who's had beard almost since they're 20, and I'm crawling up to 60 here pretty soon. It really isn't that hard to have a beard and control the beard. There really isn't that much to it, as long as it's worn the way that mine is, where it's very close cropped to the face and that kind of stuff. Because then it's just a matter of having a set of shears, and you just run them over your face, and you're done. That's all there is to it. And maybe you have to cut it in from time to time, but really having a beard is a lot better than being clean shaven. Clean shaven, you have to shave yourself every day. It's a pain in the ass.
For me, it wasn't that. It was the guys who wouldn't clean their beards that bothered me.
Oh, yeah, that's disgusting.
You could let it grow forever as long as you shampoo your thing. I don't give a shit.
I used to, when I did have a little bit longer beard, I never shampooed it. I just used soap.
Well, something. You're using something.
Yeah. I know a lot of guys who use like waxes and all these products and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, just wash it and keep it clean. That's all she wants. Because as soon as you kiss her, she's going to feel that wax, and it's going to be ew. And if and it smells because you put some kind of product in it, she's going to smell it, and it's going to be ew. Just
it's
clean
also
it.
the place where you eat. So like, it's a lot of that stuff. As long as you're keeping yourself clean. Listen, here's the thing that I just learned this year about the Vikings. A lot of the Vikings walked away with a lot of those ladies because they smelt better than the guys they were living with. That's a thing.
And they're
Pepe Le
bigger.
Pew, the joke about Pepe Le Pew. You know why he became attractive? He was less stinky.
Less stickier than all the other skunks.
Yeah,
Yeah. Jen, you have anything you want to bring up? Because that whole thing was what Terry brought up.
Ooh, I think I'm pretty good.
Okay.
Not much other than the exciting stuff I talked about earlier, which is just more me being like, he's going to be out of a jam.
When does that take place? When is the votes? When do they cast?
So it is September 20th. We will know the news for it by the 22nd. So I think that is
it's just a few weeks away. Today's the 8th.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Cool.
So
well,
we're
I wish Maxime good luck. I hope he does well.
Me too.
So
and Viva Fry, I'd like to see him get a seat just for the keks.
Yeah.
The keks, sir.
That'd be awesome. His real name, in case anybody doesn't know, Viva Fry is his channel. His name is actually David Freiheit. But he is a lawyer turned YouTuber. It's whenever you go to watch his video, it's the first thing he says. But he does a lot of great content. So if you're looking for something else to watch besides the Minions, because that's first and foremost, take a look at Viva Fry, because he's him and his live streams with Barnes. What's his first name? Barnes. I have
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about? I don't remember his first name, but
I know who you mean, but I
he teams up with an American lawyer. His last name is Barnes. They do this for Viva Fry and Barnes. I think it's daily, maybe every couple days they do a live stream. That's pretty interesting too. So
yeah, I missed their stream. He did a stream today too, but yeah, I can't remember his name.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and head out, because there's plenty of people who have other things to do today. In the chat, not me. I'm playing games for the rest of the day.
Me too.
Thanks
Hi,
as
Johnny.
always.
Sorry you're late.
Oh, Johnny Hellcat just got here. I'm sorry, Johnny.
Yeah.
Thanks as always, guys, for hanging out with us in chat. If you're looking more for the zoo, our Discord is linked in the description down below, and we're live every evening, 7 days a week. Quiz on Monday, Skep on Tuesday. Our late to the show Johnny Hellcat is on tomorrow night. Sanguine is on Friday. Harry Channel starts off the weekend on Saturday, and Poppy and Delahazed take turns hosting every other Sunday. We will be back next Wednesday as usual. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next time. Have a great night.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Toodle's gonna go.